CEO fired a single dad. Minutes later, he was the only one who could save her company. Marcus Wright had always believed that if you worked hard enough, loyalty would be returned in kind. For 11 years, he had given everything to Harmon Technologies, arriving before dawn, staying past midnight, skipping vacations, missing school plays, and sacrificing countless evenings with his 7-year-old daughter Lily just to keep the quarterly numbers green. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. He was not just an employee. He was the backbone of the company's entire server infrastructure, the quiet architect behind every system that kept Harmon Technologies breathing. But on a grey Tuesday morning in November, none of that mattered. Victoria Harmon, the sharp-edged CEO who had inherited the company from her father and transformed it into a billion-dollar enterprise, called Marcus into her glass-walled office and slid a termination letter across the mahogany desk without so much as meeting his eyes. "We're restructuring," she said, her voice carrying the clinical coldness of someone announcing a weather forecast. "Your position has been eliminated. Security will escort you out." Marcus stared at the letter, then at Victoria, searching for something human in her expression, a flicker of recognition, perhaps of the man who had pulled 3 consecutive all-nighters to save her company from a catastrophic data breach 2 years ago. He found nothing. He signed where he was told to sign, collected the small framed photo of Lily from his desk, and walked out into the November cold with a cardboard box and 11 years of memories pressing against his chest. The drive home felt like moving through water. When Lily ran to the door with her gap-toothed smile and her arms wide open, Marcus knelt down and held her longer than usual, burying his face in her curly hair and reminding himself that she was the reason he would get back up. He made her mac and cheese for dinner, helped her with her spelling homework, tucked her in with their usual 3 bedtime stories, and only after her small chest rose and fell in peaceful sleep did Marcus allow himself to sit at his kitchen table and feel the full weight of what had happened. He had a mortgage. He had Lily's school fees. He had no partner to share the burden, no safety net, only a savings account that would last maybe 4 months if he was careful. He opened his laptop not to despair, but to plan, because Marcus Wright had never been the kind of man who stayed down. He began updating his resume, reached out to old contacts, and started sketching freelance proposals late into the night. Meanwhile, 32 floors above the city streets, Victoria Harmon was about to discover the true cost of reducing a human being to a line item. At precisely 11:47 that same night, the screens in Harmon Technologies' operations center went dark. Every server, every database, every client portal, gone. A sophisticated ransomware attack had penetrated the company's defenses and encrypted the entire digital infrastructure. Victoria was called in from home, and within the hour, the boardroom was filled with panicked executives and a cybersecurity response team that was quickly drowning. The attack had exploited a vulnerability in a proprietary integration system, and a system so uniquely complex, so layered with custom coding built over years, that only one person on the planet truly understood its architecture. The head of IT turned to Victoria, with pale cheeks, and said the words that dropped her stomach straight through the floor. "We need Marcus Wright." Victoria stood very still. The ransomers were demanding $15 million. Client contracts worth 4 times that amount were at risk. Regulatory penalties alone could cripple the company. She picked up her phone and dialed the number she had dismissed 11 hours ago. Marcus answered on the 3rd ring. He was still awake, still at his kitchen table, still fighting for his future. He listened to Victoria's voice, stripped now of its corporate armor, carrying something raw and desperate, as she explained what had happened. There was a long silence. Any other man might have laughed. Any other man might have savored the justice of the moment. But Marcus thought about the 430 employees whose paychecks depended on Harmon Technologies surviving the night. He thought about the junior developers he had mentored, the office receptionist who always remembered his coffee order, the security guard who asked about Lily every morning. "I'll come in," he said, "but we're going to talk about terms first." He arrived at 1 a.m., walked past the same security desk that had escorted him out hours before, and sat down in front of a terminal. For 6 hours straight, Marcus navigated the labyrinth of his own creation, isolating compromised nodes, rebuilding encrypted pathways, and systematically dismantling the ransomware's grip on the system with the calm precision of a surgeon. Lily slept safely at home under the watch of his neighbor Mrs. Chen, while her father quietly saved a company that had thrown him away. By 7 a.m., the lights came back on. The data was recovered. The clients were protected. Victoria Harmon stood in the doorway of the server room watching Marcus close out the final diagnostic report. And for the first time in perhaps years, she saw not a resource or a salary figure, but a person, a father, a man of extraordinary character, who had chosen integrity over revenge when he had every right to choose otherwise. She walked toward him slowly. "Marcus," she said, and her voice cracked slightly at the edges. "I owe you an apology that goes far beyond this morning." She did not offer him his old job back. She offered him something better, a newly created position as Chief Infrastructure Officer, a seat at the leadership table, a salary that finally reflected what he was actually worth, and a formal policy change that required executive review before any tenured employee could be terminated without a personal conversation. Marcus looked at her for a long moment, then extended his hand. "One condition," he said. "I leave every day at 4 o'clock to pick up my daughter from school." Victoria shook his hand without hesitation. "Done." When Lily heard the story weeks later, simplified to the version a 7-year-old could hold, she looked up at her father with wide eyes and said, "So the mean lady learned to be nice because of you, Daddy?" Marcus laughed, the kind of laugh that lives somewhere deep in the chest. "Something like that, baby girl." The real world does not always offer such clean redemptions, but it does offer this truth. Quietly and consistently, the people you overlook are often the ones holding everything together, and the moment you remember the human being behind the job title is the moment you begin to lead with something worth following. Thank you so much for reading this story all the way to the end. It truly means the world. If this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, please give it a like. Share it with someone who needs a reminder of their own worth today. And subscribe to Kindness True Stories, so you never miss a story about the moments that remind us what really matters in this life. Your support keeps these stories alive, and together we are building a community that believes in compassion, second chances, and the extraordinary power of human kindness.